Well, one thing that you learn when you're traveling full time is that you've got to be ready for anything. Flat tire, ready, totally ready. Uh, Boy needs stitches, ready. Windows fly off the RV, ready. Back window of the truck shatters in 1,000 pieces with the boys in the back seat, ready. Well, sort of, not really. I mean, huge emotional challenges. Yeah, right? Today, we're going to talk about the big six emotions and why they are actually for our benefit. Now, how many of you have seen the Inside Out movie? Yes. Anybody? How many of you have seen the Inside Out movie? And in that movie, they cover some of the emotions that we're going to talk about today. Not all of them, but some of the emotions. And so, and welcome to you. Even if you're watching after the live is over, welcome to you, those who are on Instagram. If you are joining us over there, you're going to want to join us over on Facebook, because this is where I'm going to give all of the information here. You're going to still be able to see, but you're going to be missing out on some of it. So come join us over there at 3 Life Essentials. And thanks so much for joining in here. I'm going to be back to answer questions, respond to your comments. So give me a little love. It helps us to engage here as a community. And today, maybe you've experienced one of these big six today. Have you? I know I have. Today in Free Friday, we're going to be free from judgment and free from the unknown, free from feeling like we're stuck, free to understand our bodies and our brains even better, free to love our brain, free to be secure. Yes, and free to return to joy. Yes, I love that. And free to love your brain. Yes. So now, if you want access to today's show notes so that you don't have to take any notes, no problem. I've got you covered with that. Let me see here. Just drop the word big six, all one word, big six, and I'll send you my notes from today. So Instagrammers, you're going to want to join us over on Facebook in order to be able to get those show notes. But just drop the word big six, all one word, and I'll share with you that information. So yes, and don't keep this to yourself, because I have a bonus gift for those of you who choose to do that over here on Free Friday. And we love to learn out loud here. So actually, before I do that, if you are new here, my name is Amy Miller. I am a wellness advocate and I'm a business coach, and I help fellow SLPs and therapists in private practice make a bigger impact in the lives of their patients. I help them set their business apart from all the others, and I help them provide patients with solutions that address issues rather than just putting Band-Aids on problems, and return to joy. Yes. So this is Free Friday. This is our weekly series on Fridays to experience life more fully, more abundantly, and bonus if we can do it naturally. So, and we love to learn out loud here on Free Friday. So when we learn out loud, we use the hashtag Free Friday, and we explain whatever is freeing your mind, whatever your aha moment is throughout the live today. Even if you're watching after the live is over, anytime you hear something that's really valuable to you, a new idea or a nugget that you want to hold on to, just type in the words hashtag Free Friday, and then just share that tip or that aha moment that you want to implement, because we love to celebrate learning around here. Now, as somebody who cares for your family, you've always got Band-Aids with you, right? You've got them on hand. But what if the damage is not to your skin, but to your heart? What do you do when your child is angry? Or what do you do when your husband is filled with shame? What do you do when your friend is experiencing disgust? So, are you ready to join me, and let's gain some insight into the big six emotions? Yes? If so, tell me ready and we'll dive in. Yes. I love that. I love that. Okay, so here's where we're going to start. We're going to start with our brains. Okay. Um, Now, first, I want to tell you that I have been on my own spiritual journey since I was about 10 years old. And um, and in that time frame, my creator just radically changed my life when I met him in a personal relationship. But last year, I discovered some of the most powerful tools that I've ever come across in my life for connecting with God on a deeply spiritual level. And as I've learned about them, I shared some of them with you last summer, and I'm sharing with you again because I feel like this is a good time to do that. But um, but it's possible to have a head full of facts and not know the truth. Now, we have focused on other live videos about true change that comes from the inside out. And unless we experience freedom in our spiritual life, which is our foundation of our wellness, then addressing the other areas are just going to act as band-aids. So in addressing our emotional well-being, we have to first back up and start there if we haven't already. And Jesus is the only one who brings true lasting change. Now, we've focused on breathing life into our spirit. That was what we call the foundation of our wellness lies, how to experience true and lasting change. And we've talked about some ways to experience that through something called Emmanuel journaling. We've delved into attachment styles so that we can experience true experience and connection with others. And now we're going to name the big six and what they can do for us. And did you know that joy is directly related to the quality of your relationships and your intimacy? No, how many of you know someone like that that has a head full of facts but doesn't know the truth? Anybody? So let's dive in and talk about our brains. Now, the right hemisphere of our brains, we were wired there to experience each of these big six emotions. Now, I'm going to go through them quickly and then we're going to kind of delve into each one. But, well, actually, knows some of them. See if you can name some of them from the Inside Out movie. So we're going to start with sadness. Now, sadness is when you're saying in your heart, like, I've lost some of my life. Okay. And then the next one is anger. And that is when we are saying to ourselves, I need to protect myself and make something stop. Okay. So the third one is fear. And that's when our body, that right side of our brain says, I want to get away. The fifth one is disgust. And that's when our right brain is saying, this is not life-giving. Right? It's when we say this is not life-giving. And when we experience shame, our right hemisphere is saying, I am not bringing you joy and you are not glad to be with me. And then the last one in the big six is hopeless despair. Now, this is a little bit greater than sadness. This is when our brain is saying, I lack the resources that I need for this. And so as we think through some of these, many times we have a tendency to think of these as negative emotions, right? Raise your hand, give me the little hand emoji if you think of these as negative emotions in your life. Because we're not going to talk about them as necessarily negative emotions, but we are going to talk about them as big emotions. Now, obviously, there are more that we can experience, right, in our lives, but we're going to talk about these six and actually how they can benefit us and help us. So let's start with the good news, okay? Did you know that God can actually use these, because he is our creator, he can use these for our purposes, for his purposes, and for our good. So how does that happen? Okay, so let's go through these again. So when we talk about sadness, if we think about our creator God and sadness, when we experience that, why can we experience sadness and how can it be used for our benefit? It can help us develop compassion for other people. When you think about, actually in the Bible, it talks about Jesus weeping. And so he experienced sadness. When we experience sadness, which is our brain is wired for sadness, we can actually develop compassion for other people. So it can be used for our benefit. Okay, let's talk about anger. Now, again, we have a tendency to think of anger as a negative emotion, but let's think about it in terms of just a big emotion because our brains are actually wired to experience it. Anger can actually benefit us. It can be dangerous, but it has the power to move you into action or to intervene in something. Remember, when it's anger is when our brain says, I need to protect myself and make something stop. It can actually have the power to move us into action or to intervene. Okay, so let's talk about fear. What about fear? And yes, give me a 1 if you have experienced any of these already today, maybe even, maybe multiple ones. So fear, remember, is when our brain is saying, I want to get away. But it can actually benefit us because it can actually save your life or another person's life. Yes. So what about disgust? Now remember, disgust is when our right brain is saying, this is not life-giving. Well, it can actually move us to disciple those people around us who are immature. For instance, just as an example, as a parent, teaching my boys not to be so disgusting, right? In thinking about using good manners and etiquette and those kinds of things. It can move you from disgust to disciple or to teach other people who are immature. Okay, so what about shame? Again, we have a tendency to think of this as just a negative emotion, but that's when our body is saying, our right brain is saying that I'm not bringing you joy and that you're not glad to be with me. But what if shame could actually benefit us when we have healthy shame messages to other people who are maybe not following what our Creator would want? Obviously, this would be bathed in love and compassion, but a healthy shame message to those who are bathed in love and compassion. And then lastly, what about that hopeless despair when our brain is saying just, I lack the resources that I need for this? And what if that could be used for our benefit when it brings us to dependence on our Creator? Completely dependent upon who He has made you and I to be. And so, yeah. So how many of these have you experienced just today? Now, for those of you who are a follower of Jesus, we're called to regulate these emotions by the power of the Holy Spirit. And that is God's Spirit that lives within every person who has given their lives to Jesus. So let's not deny the existence of these emotions. Call it out. Call it out. And did you know, I want to share with you this fun fact, that a mature brain can actually return to a normal flow state in 90 seconds after experiencing one of these big 6 emotions. Yes. So after experiencing one of these 6 big emotions, a mature brain can actually, because what happens when you experience one of those big 6, that's experienced by the right brain. And so the right brain and the left brain become out of sync with one another. And a mature brain can actually return to normal and get those 2 hemispheres back in sync with each other within 90 seconds. Wouldn't you like to be that person? And maybe there's times in certain ones that you have. Maybe there's other ones that maybe you've held on to and you're stuck in that. So that mature brain has regulated the sadness and they've seen the emotion as an opportunity to grow. So I want to invite you this week, as you experience one of the big 6, stop and call it out by name. I'm feeling blank right now. And we're going to talk next week about what to do if you feel yourself stuck in one of these emotions and how you can return to joy. Yeah, so I'm about to sign off now, but we're going to be talking more about this topic over the next few weeks. So stay tuned with me. If you want a reminder when we go live each Friday. Just type in the words reminder below and I'll make sure that you get one. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this. So we're going to be talking about how to return to joy after experiencing the big six next week. And you are worth the investment. So take the time to join me next week and I'll see you back here. Bye, everybody.